Welcome to the Runjob Review. My name is Scott Jennings, and today we're going to talk about extra costs, why and how to track them. Why do we need to track where we lost money? Well, there's two reasons, really just one reason. If you've lost money on a project, then you need to know where that money was lost. So the first reason is just to know exactly where you lost the money. The second reason is that if you want someone to pay for it, you've got to be able to discreetly, from one item to another, tell the person who's going to pay you where you did lose the money. And then of course you have to prove entitlement and get paid for that. So how do we track these extra costs? First of all, let's make an assumption together that we can use the acronym PCO, Potential Change Order. And the first thing you want to do is actually have an event occur. So the first thing that actually happens is you actually have an actual PCO event. Once that's happened, the second step is to actually assign a PCO number to it. PCO numbers usually start with 1 and they just continue to go sequentially, and that's fine to do it that way. Some people will step them as they go, or they'll mimic a specification section. I suggest just going with a sequential number. The third thing you want to do, and I would say you can do this in any order but never miss it, and that is notify your client. You can notify your client the very moment that you actually hit the change condition, or you can wait until you assign a number and all those things, but at the end of the day, never forget to notify your client in writing. It's the most important thing you can do in this entire process, is notify your client, because so often you've violated the terms of the contract by not notifying the client in writing. There's 3 more things in the process that we need to go over. The next one is actually to give it a cost code. We'll get into that in the next section, but you want to find a place to actually track all these costs. The tracking of the costs is item number 5, and in item number 5 we want to track the labor, the equipment, the consumable costs, any subcontractors that may be affected. Track all those costs, and if you assign a discrete cost code to capture all those costs, it makes actually sharing those costs with someone later for reimbursement a lot easier. And the last step in the process is to actually submit the costs. Take all the costs that you have, put them in a binder, put them in a letter, however you want to assemble them, and make sure all the costs get off to the person who's hopefully going to pay you. After assigning a sequential PCO number to all of your issues as you're going through the project, you're going to want to simultaneously assign cost codes as well. Everyone's accounting systems are different, but everyone usually has a way to put sequential numbers into a certain area of the accounting system. So let me show you one way of doing it, and you'll get the principle behind how to number cost codes in accordance with how you numbered your PCOs. So let's look at this list we've put together here. So you can see here, there's 4 PCOs in this actual list of extras on the job, and what I've done is our cost code system is an 8-digit cost code. So I've assigned 4 separate sequential 8,000 cost codes, we call them, and I've assigned a description to each one of them. And so as I accumulate cost for each of these extra issues, I just put them to the correct cost code. So in the case of the first one, we had a delayed start due to permits. The second one, we had a buried car in a utility excavation. So that's a good one. On the actual second PCO here, PCO number 2, cost code 800002, we have a buried car in utility excavation. So in that cost code, I want to track the labor, the equipment, the consumable cost, or the subcontractor cost. And of course this follows for 4 PCOs, or in the case of some projects, thousands of PCOs. Using a cost code system like this will be very helpful for 3 main reasons. The first one is just knowing where your costs are at. If you have something which falls outside of the scope of work of your original bid, it's nice to know where you're spending those extra costs, whether you're going to chase them or not. The second reason is to be able to bill with confidence. So once you have an extra cost, you'll be able to have all those costs in one bucket, and then you can quickly point back to the exact cost you spent on an issue, and probably even relate time cards to it and show those as well as invoices and things like that. And the last thing is, you should get used to cost coding in this manner just to always be ready for a claim. If it comes up into something outside of scope, or something becomes hairy and you need to go back and reclaim costs, the worst thing you can do is have to wait a month to gather all your costs, organize them, and submit them. If you're keeping track of your costs in the manner I've described, you'll be ready to go into a claim situation if you have to. Now it's time for my story. The system of cost control and workflow and cost code numbering, I've used this system for years. I've used it in RFP situations, when the owner actually asks you to make a change at the job versus something in dispute. This is a great way to actually track all the costs that you expend while you're doing this approved or non-disputed work. So you can use that in a request for proposal or RFP manner of contracting the work as well. But as I described before, it's most helpful in claims. when you start to enter into a differing site condition or something which is not a part of your contract, it's good to be able to compartmentalize these costs, because when it comes down to sitting across the table from someone, whether your lawyer's on the side and theirs is on the other side, it's going to help to have all these costs compartmentalized so you can negotiate them on a one-by-one discrete basis. Thank you for listening to this week's Run Job Review. Look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you.